live music. Oh, Thursday and Friday. Let's check it out.
Yeah. Tuesday.
Let's go.
I know these swing remixes are so fun. Yeah, our daiquiris are really good. That's because we make our own syrups.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like the strawberry syrup in there, and also our pina colada mix.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
And a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, blend the daiquiri like that.
Yeah.
It really just screws up the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
liquor, fresh fruit flavor. It really doesn't do much for
That
flavor
is, you
profile.
can
It's
taste it.
actually nice.
You're watching our mixologist whip us up some fresh stuff. Thank you. What you got there?
Strawberry daiquiri. Yeah. Good. You gotta taste it.
Yeah.
It tastes like a fresh thing of strawberries. Not too sweet. Sometimes you want a sweet, but not really. People here.
No, I don't know what I expected. I had the most luscious strawberry daiquiri. Over there? Like fresh, right? Perfect.
Oh my
But
god.
all of our syrups and things are made in-house.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what makes the difference.
We did like a time warp and all of a sudden we're here.
What now?
It was like a time warp. All of a sudden we were in one spot and now we're here.
I don't know. I think we're supposed to be in the middle.
I don't know. We were going to do the tour. No?
Okay, for you.
Okay. Or maybe that's why he brought us over here this way. Okay.
It's the
And then do we come back in here or do we go back out there? Okay.
I want to go back out.
She wants to go back for another cocktail out there. Get a haircut while I'm here?
A haircut. A lot of people think it's a barber's chair.
Oh, that's for fishing, I know.
Either a dentist chair, maybe even sometimes. Yes, it's a recreation of what you would have found on the Pilar.
Right.
Yes, this
Yeah.
you put your fishing rod right there. Yep,
Yep.
and you're gonna find a marlin, a mahi, something like that. Well, welcome, guys.
Hi.
My
Hi.
name's Emily. I'm gonna be your guide. But we all go by nicknames here because you're gonna learn we love nicknames. Because I'm a boat captain in town, they call me Skipper. So you're welcome to call me Skipper. You're welcome to call me Emily. We're just getting into right over here. We're gonna talk about the history of rum. Now, the history of rum is about as old as American history gets. When we wanted our independence as a country, we wanted it in what we were drinking as well. Back in these days, rum was an extremely high proof. Now, you find proof by doubling alcohol percentage. So we're talking about 100 proof, we're talking about 50% alcohol. Now, back in these days, it was well over 100 proof. They say if the devil himself were to drink rum, it would kill him. So they nicknamed it Kill Devil. But this Kill Devil had a job to do. Imagine you're an old-time ship captain, and you're relying on rainwater as your main source of water. You're going to have it in barrels like this, and as we all know, stagnant water doesn't keep very well. So what they do is they're going to add Kill Devil into that barrel of rainwater, essentially sanitizing the water to create a shelf-stable product. Now, we also had issues on boats with scurvy, a lack of vitamin C, right? They found, eventually, if you add citrus juice, normally lime juice, to this mixture of water and Kill Devil, you're going to prevent scurvy. Citrus, Kill Devil, and water is the original recipe for grog, what pirates used to drink, right? Now they're going to prevent scurvy, they're going to get hydrated, and they're going to get a buzz on a boat, just like anybody else wants to do, right? Now we also used rum as currency back in these days. It was hard to get paper, and it was hard to get paper money. So what you do is you're going to take a musket ball, and you're going to trade it for 2 ounces of rum at the local barkeep. A transaction we use the name of today as a shot. So you're trading a musket ball shot for a shot. So go home, impress all your friends, tell them you know where the word shot comes from. Now we also use rum at different times in our history. George Washington used rum as his main libation for his first inaugural dinner. We know Paul Revere, the British are coming, the British are coming. Well, we know he stopped to get a little bit of rum to get a pep in his step through that long midnight ride. And up until 1914, our Navy sailors had a daily rum ration. Now unfortunately for them, the Secretary of the Navy at the time, Josephus Daniels, he didn't like the drunken sailor song. He didn't like that they were trading the rum for a quart, if you know what I mean. So to avoid that, he's going to trade our rum ration for a new drink on the market called coffee. Now this is back before we were using creamer, sugar, bitter, lukewarm, not very happy, right? These sailors are not happy, right? They're getting rum in this new weird drink. So they sarcastically nicknamed this new drink after the Secretary of the Navy, Josephus Daniels. They call it a cup of joe. That's where a cup of Joe comes from. Because everyone's always like, yeah, why Joe? Who's Joe, right? Josephus Daniels, the Secretary of the Navy in 1914. Little piece of nautical history for you. Feel free to take photos, guys. Whatever you like. We're going to move down just a little bit further. We're going to talk a little more about Ernest. We're going to look at all these pictures. On that last story I told you, if you're part of the military in the United Kingdom and you're a Navy sailor, you keep that daily rum ration until 1971. Lucky dog, right? We lose ours in 1914, they're in the 70s. Pretty cool. Now, Ernest Hemingway, he's pictured here at 9 years old at Lake Walton in Michigan. What's really cool is this little inset here. It's something we all probably did as kids. Your teacher asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do when you grow up? He said he wanted to be a writer. He wanted to travel the world. And man, did he do all of those things, and well, might I add. And at 9 years old, he knew exactly where his life was going, and he did it, which is both those things together pretty impressive. He started his travels here in Milan, Italy, where he was an ambulance driver for World War I for the American Red Cross. Now, unfortunately for him, he's driving that ambulance one day and it is hit by a mortar. He gets over 200 pieces of shrapnel hit his legs during this injury. This is him recovering from that. Now, if you know his books, you know they're works of fiction, but they're based on real life events. In the book of Farewell to Arms, it's a book about a young man in Italy during the First World War who was an ambulance driver for the American Red Cross who was injured in the line of duty. You see where I'm going with this, right? Yeah. Now, unfortunately for him, he falls in love with the nurse taking care of him. And that nurse, he finds out eventually, is engaged to be married. So what do you do when you're heartbroken and you're a writer? You write the end of what you want. You killed her off on the end of the book. So don't mess with Ernest Hemingway. He'll kill you in the book. Not in real life. The person was like, he killed her? I'm like, no. Just in the book, right?
You got Taylor Swift to sing the song.
Honestly, the original Taylor Swift, Ernest Hemingway. That's a good one. Yeah, I like that.
You can use it. You can use it.
I'm going to put that into my what I say now. That's funny. Yes, thank you. Now these pictures here is where he is married to Pauline. That's his second wife, also known as Pilar. Now, Pilar and Ernest, they are in Africa on safari, and they stop at the Wheeler Shipyard in Brooklyn, New York, to put in their order for their 38-foot Playmate boat they're going to use down here in Key West. Now, luckily for Ernest, his wife Pilar is the favorite niece of a rich, childless uncle who bought them their house here in Key West and half of the Pilar. So what do you do when your boat's half price? You trick it out. You put everything you've ever wanted into that boat and you make it the super yacht of 1934. This is the coolest boat of the day. This is the boat in the harbor you cannot walk by without turning your head and saying, wow. I mean, it was that boat. To give you a reference, up in the rafters, there's a little metal outline of the boat. It's just a few feet shorter than 38 feet, but just to give you a reference of what it would have looked like. Now, the Pilar did a lot of fishing while it was down here, and Ernest loved fishing with his good friend Josie Russell here. Now, we were talking about Ernest and how if you were in his inner circle, you got a nickname. So that's why we all get nicknames at work here. Ernest gave his good friend Josie Russell the nickname of Sloppy Joe. You may have heard of his place just down the street, one of the most famous bars in Key West. Now, this is back when Sloppy Joe's was where Captain Tony's is today. So that's where Ernest Hemingway would have hung out, but it's the same company that's at that corner just down the street. That's why on the side of Captain Tony's it says Ernest Hemingway hung out here. And his signature is on the wall in the men's bathroom if you've been in there. I haven't, but I hear it's there and it's framed.
They wouldn't let me in.
Yeah, I know, right? Weird. Now, he had a boxing ring for some time in his backyard here in Key West. Unfortunately for Ernest, while he was out of town one weekend, his wife Pilar, the French interior designer, didn't like having a boxing ring in her backyard. So while he was out of town, she took out the boxing ring and put in the largest private pool in Key West. Can you imagine the conversation that went on afterwards? I don't even want to think about it. Now, here he is pictured in World War II, where he's a war correspondent for the United States. His family tells us about his map sack that he brought with him at all times. It had normal things, maps, compasses, pen, paper, but he always had two canteens with him at all times. One filled with water, one filled with rum. Because he's Ernest Hemingway and he's about to have a good time with whatever he's doing, right? That's where the inspiration comes for our bottle shape. It's shaped after a World War II canteen to commemorate his time in World War II. That's why the cap is chained back to the base of the bottle. Now, if this guy looks familiar to you, this is Gregorio Fuentes. He is one of two captains of the Pilar, and he is the original art inspiration for the cover art of The Old Man in the Sea. Now, Ernest and Gregorio, they went fishing one day. They caught a fish too big to pull into the boat, just like the old man in the story. What they decide to do is they're going to pull it alongside the boat to make it their way back to land. But unfortunately, sharks get to it on the way and essentially destroy one of the most beautiful, amazing fish that you've ever seen.
It's all that's left.
Right? Just like the old man in the story, pretty heart-crushing. Very sad. I mean, look at this face. That is not a happy man.
Yeah.
But pretty cool because it inspired one of his most famous works that most of us know him by today. With his works in collection, he won a Pulitzer and a Nobel Prize. So it's pretty impressive as a writer, especially in this day. Now, here he is pictured in Africa again, where he is recovering from 2 plane crashes in 3 days. He was trying to get to Switzerland to pick up his Nobel Prize. Unfortunately, never made it to Switzerland, but did finish his days at his family home in Idaho. I like to end on a happier note, though, sipping on some King Louis at his home in Cuba. I think it says a lot about a man who's sipping on a $1,000 bottle out of a pint glass. It's a lot about maybe what he thinks of himself. Kind of put it together for yourself.
What a life, you know?
Now, any questions about Ernest or his life? He had a lot going on in 61 years, you know?
All right.
The Nobel Prize.
In Sweden, they do. He was trying to go to Switzerland, but he had to take a train to Sweden. So that was just where he was flying to.
Wow.
Yes, but you're right. They do in Sweden. I actually had some Swedish people here that were like, wait. And I think they get mixed up a lot.
Beautiful.
Well, we're gonna move down just a little bit further, guys. We're gonna talk about rum.
Where's the rum always going?
Now, the sugarcane process. Rum starts with sugarcane. You're gonna take the sugarcane and you're gonna press it and get the sweet, delicious juice. We we use the byproduct of sugarcane called molasses. Now, that molasses is what we're going to put into our fermentation tank. Before I get too much into that, I like to talk about all these barrels that we were referencing earlier. Now, all the barrels that are all strewn about everywhere, they may look random, but this is the Innovation Center for Papas Pilar. This is where we're doing different experimentation with different types of barrels, different blends. This is where we're doing all of that stuff, because this is the only distillery for the entire company. Now you can see we're working with new barrels, like in this orange rack here. Those are virgin barrels, never been used before, but a lot of them have a lot of patina because we're using barrels from different kinds of alcohol making, cognac, champagne, different kinds of wine, bourbon, whiskey, all this stuff to impart flavor into our expressions, mostly for our distillery reserve. We just bottled our fall distillery reserve, and it's going to come out later this week. They're always one-off recipes. This one we made 64 cases, and that's all we'll ever make of it. So every time you come in, there'll normally be something new for you guys to enjoy, and they're only available here in Key West. We can't ship from this location, and we're going to go a little bit more into that in a second. Now, what's really essential is this rack right here. This is our Solera system for our blonde and our dark expressions. Now, a Solera system we borrowed from Spanish sherry winemakers. It means from the bottom. So this bottom row here is going to be our finished rums, and we're going to work our way from the top all the way down. We're going to move down just a little bit further so I can point out some specific barrels to you. Now, the top two rows here are going to be American white oak bourbon barrels. This is where our dark rums, see it says Sol B, and our blonde rums, Sol B, are going to start. Sol because it's Solera, and the dark and blonde rums. Now our dark rum is then going to go from the bourbon barrel into our ruby red port barrel here. Our ruby red port barrel is made out of French oak from Portugal. Then our dark rum is going to finish in the sherry cask here at the bottom from Spain. Our blonde rum is starting with that bourbon barrel, and it's going to bypass the port going all the way to the sherry at the bottom. Our blonde is a double casted rum, while our dark is a triple casted. Now when we're pulling from one barrel to the next, this is a fractional blending system, meaning we're not pulling 100% out. We're going to leave a little bit left in there, so when we're pouring the fresh in, it's going to blend with the old, giving us a more consistent product. It's essential to our system. This is more of a blending system than an aging system. People ask, how long are they in barrels? Between all of the barrels for the dark or the blonde is less than a year. So it's just impart that flavor of the barrel to blend it and get that flavor. Any questions about this?
Is there product in these?
Oh yeah. Every barrel you see is full
Okay,
of
not
rum.
just for looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay, I believe you.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Kind of fun.
Yeah, it is.
How do you move them? Fork left?
Fork left. Yeah. We don't move them very often though. We're not like bourbon that has all the rules about only using a barrel once. We'll reuse these barrels as long as we're getting the flavor that we want from them. And of course we're testing before we're pulling from the next one.
What's the deal for you rotate them, or is it not to rotate them?
We do rotate them for pulling from one to the other.
Oh.
So we're letting gravity help us pull from up, or from the further up to down. We have these pipes here. These pull out, and then we'll attach the bung hole, which is the hole of a barrel. We're going to attach those pipes, and we're going to spin it so the gravity helps us pull from one to the next one. Yes. So it's more helping with the pulling from one to the other than like rotating for a reason like wine does.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
With different kinds of alcohol. Yeah, they're there for a reason. Yes, for the transfer. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Good question. Does anybody know what this is called? A hole in the barrel? It's got a funny name. A bunghole, yes.
It's
I just
naughty.
What I have kids on my tours, I always say. I'm like, no, it's not. Feel free to take a seat on the little half wall here, guys.
Okay.
Take a little mid-tour break. I know how much walking goes into Key West. And trust me, I know you need it. Now, fermentation is going to start here at our fermentation tank at the end. This is 800 gallons. We're going to fill it 20% with molasses, 80% with water, and a few pounds of yeast. When that mixes together, we're going to get a reaction. that yeast is alive and it's going to start eating the sugars of the molasses to create three byproducts. First is heat. Now we need to control that heat because if it gets too hot, the yeast is going to burn up and die. Not good. So we have the jacket that goes all the way around that tank that's filled with water. That water is going to circulate to help us create a consistent temperature, so we control that. The second thing is CO2. Always up at the top, we pipe that out of here, and that's because CO2 breathing in is bad, right? We don't want that. The third thing is alcohol. At the end of a week of fermentation, we're going to have 10% alcohol in what we call wash. Wash is what we're going to put into our still here. That's what wash looks like. It's kind of chunky. It's not very nice to look at, but it doesn't smell terrible. Feel free to give it a sniff. But please don't drink it.
Oh,
All right?
yeah.
I always have to say that.
I love molasses.
They hear 10% alcohol and they start to drink it. They don't stop that.
Could you use it for flavoring? Like in your cookies? Like vanilla?
I mean, you could. People use molasses all the time for baking, right?
Yeah. And it's
the fermented molasses, I don't know if it would turn out as well.
Yeah.
I want rum, so I'm going to use this for rum making. We're going to take that wash and we're going to put it into our combination pot and column still, which is what we did this morning. We put our wash in there and we're going to slowly heat it from the bottom. When those vapors rise up through the column, they're going to go through each of those little porthole windows. Those windows each have a plate with tiny holes in it. So when that vapor hits that plate, it's going to slightly condense, vaporize, and hit the next plate. Hit the next plate, hit the next plate, till it goes all the way up to the top, through that pipe there into our shotgun condenser. Now the shotgun condenser has 30 little tubes in it, all surrounded by cold water. When that hot vapor hits the cold tube, it's going to condense back into a liquid and come out of our box pipe here, just like it's doing right now. Now this first run of the still, we call our stripping run. That's what we're doing right now. We're stripping the liquids away from the solids of fermentation. And we're going to get at the end what's called low wine. Low wine's at about 60 proof. We want more alcohol than that, so we're going to take our low wine and we're going to put it back into our still. Now our still, we're going to heat it up again. Our vapor's going to rise up from the column, through that pipe, and back into the condenser. Now this second run, we call our refining run. We're going to be, when it comes out the second time, it's now coming out in 4 distinct parts. Now I say distinct parts because they're coming out of different proofs, different consistencies. But they all look identical. They're all a clear liquid. And that's where our rum makers have to make cuts at the right time. So they're doing different kinds of testing. They have a hydrometer there. The little thing with the metal tube on it tells you what the proof is as it's coming out. They're taste testing because it's going to come out like this whenever we're doing the refining run. So they have to cut it at exactly the right time so they don't lose valuable rum. Now the first part that comes out is called the heads. The heads is our acetones, acetates, and wood grain alcohol. This is great as a nail polish remover. It's great as an industrial cleaner. This is not something you would be putting in your mouth, and you can smell that. You're like, no, I'm not drinking that. That is the heads. Now the heads we don't do any taste testing on because that's the kind of stuff that if you hear the term blind drunk, this is what they were drinking, right? That's coming out at about 180 proof. The second part that comes out, I got a little smudge from my last tour. It's called the hearts. Just trust me. So used to see hearts on there. Hearts comes out at about 170 proof. This is what we want. This is our beautiful Key West rum. Now we're a blended rum company, so we're going to take the hearts off the still and we're going to blend it in that big circular looking tank behind you with our other sourced rums from Central, South America, and the Caribbean. Once those are all blended together, that's when it's going to go through our Solera system or through any of the barrels that are around here. The third part that comes off is called the seconds. I know it's third and it's called seconds, I know. It's coming out at about 150 proof. Now we're going to use the seconds like cognac making. We collect the seconds, we're going to put in that big tote back there. When we have our stripping run, remember that's the first run, or the refining run, that second run, sometimes our rum makers will add the seconds into the still with the wash or the low wine. What that's going to do is create a better mouthfeel for our rums So we can sip it neat. Just like cognac is normally sipped neat, our rum is originally made to be sipped neat. Do I like to make cocktails with it? Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that later. But if you wanted to, you could sip it neat because physically it feels nice in your mouth. It's got enough weight to it. It's not too liquidy, it's not too thick that you want to sip on. So that's what the second does for it. The fourth part that comes out is called the tails. So the tails comes out between 10 and 50 proof. This is what our head rum maker so lovingly calls the Band-Aids and antiseptic portion of the rum making process. I think it smells kind of like a Band-Aid. It's something that we don't really use. It's gonna be filtered and we give it away. But we have to talk about it because it's part of the rum making process. So we're not gonna leave it out.
Yeah, it does kind of. Yeah.
It's not like terrible.
No,
like
but
a loose Band-Aid.
maybe a
But
fresh Band-Aid.
Fresh one.
What's the proof with that?
10 to 50 proof. It really
You
varies.
mean
10
half of it?
dash 50. Yeah. Yeah, about. This, I think this is probably closer to 50. Now, the hearts, we blend it. We put them through the barrels. When they're finished with barreling is when we're going to put them back in the blending tank. We're going to do a final proofing, making sure it's absolutely ready for bottles. We're going to connect that tank to the wall there. We're going to pipe it back into our bottling room, which is where we're going to go next. Any questions? I know that was a lot of science just now.
How long's the whole process?
Oh, yeah.
It takes about a month between molasses to hearts.
Okay.
Now, and then less than a year for barrels. And then from barrels, it doesn't normally go immediately into bottling. It just depends on, they normally wait for other stuff to be ready. So we're not just doing like 100 bottles here, 100 bottles there. It's like they want to make sure we're doing kind of a fuller day.
Mass production.
Yeah, it just depends. Yep.
Nice.
I like to put out this little barrel right in the rafters there. That's one of those innovations we were talking about earlier. They put that up there to see how the higher humidity in the rafters is going to affect the barrel. So it's kind of one of the fun innovations that we're doing. This summer, the great grandson of Ernest Hemingway, he came down for Hemingway days, and they let him taste a little bit of it. He said it was real. So I'm really excited for that puppy to come down.
How old is that?
It's been up there for almost 3 years.
Wow.
Okay.
So that's gonna be pretty good because we don't normally leave stuff in barrels for that long.
Yeah.
So pretty fun.
You said it's his grandson?
Great grandson. Yeah, great grandson. He's like in his early 30s. Lives up in Montana. He works with the foundation.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Now the next thing we're doing is we're going to bottling room where we're going to do tasting of 5 different rums. So if you would like some more water, or if you'd like a cup of water, feel free to grab some. Some people like a little bit of water to help. I can't walk it all over. It's all good.
Do you want water?
If I need it, maybe I'll hit.
You can have some
I
of
got
this.
it.
Yeah.
And those random people that walk in, you know, don't want them to wander around a working distillery getting hurt or something.
Well, when we came, we had a cocktail, and then people spoke there, and they all just turned around. It was like,
We're here.
hello.